In an age of discovery and devotion, when new worlds were found and old faiths were challenged, one man held the strings of power. This was not a king nor a pope, but a banker. At the dawn of the 16th century, from the heart of the Holy Roman Empire, a web of trade routes spread across Europe, carrying spices, silks, and the ambitions of empires. This was the age of wealth and faith, and its master was Jakob Fugger. Born in the bustling merchant city of Augsburg, young Jakob grew up surrounded by the sights and sounds of commerce. His family were successful textile traders, and from an early age he learned the language of profit and loss. He saw how wool was woven, how dyes were mixed, and most importantly, how fortunes were made and lost in the blink of an eye. The city itself was a classroom, with its guilds, markets, and constant flow of goods from distant lands. But Jakob's ambitions stretched far beyond the city walls. As a young man, he was sent to the epicenters of global trade, Venice and Rome. In the crowded markets of Venice, he watched ships unload treasures from the east. He studied the complex financial systems that allowed merchants to fund voyages and insure their precious cargo. In Rome, the heart of Christendom, he saw a different kind of power, the immense wealth of the church. It was here, amidst the grandeur and the intrigue, that Jakob realized money was more than just currency. It was the key that could unlock any door, whether to a king's treasury or to the halls of the Vatican itself. Returning to Augsburg, Fugger began to build his empire. While others dealt in cloth, he would deal in coin. His nights were spent by candlelight, his ledgers filled with numbers that would decide the fate of nations. He pioneered new methods of accounting, creating a network of information that gave him an unparalleled advantage. His vaults, secured behind heavy iron doors, began to swell with gold and silver. At the peak of his power, it's estimated that Jakob Fugger controlled nearly 2% of Europe's entire GDP. By today's standards, he was arguably the richest man who has ever lived. He wasn't just wealthy, he was a force of nature. His immense fortune made him not just a banker, but a kingmaker. When the Holy Roman Emperor Maximilian Thurs, he needed funds to secure his vast territories and political ambitions, he turned to Fugger. We can imagine them in dimly lit chambers, the emperor in his regal attire and Fugger in his simple dark velvet robes, the true power in the room. Contracts were signed, sealed not just with wax, but with the implied promise of armies and allegiance. Coins flowed from Fugger's coffers into the emperor's, and in return, Fugger gained unprecedented mining rights and political influence. Kings and princes learned that to defy Fugger was to risk their crowns. His influence stretched all the way to Rome. The lavish projects of the Renaissance popes, including the rebuilding of St. Peter's Basilica, required staggering sums of money. Pope Leo X, a man known for his extravagant tastes, found a willing financier in Jakob Fugger. Emissaries delivered chests of gold to the Vatican, their contents shimmering in the flickering candlelight of the cathedral halls. Fugger was, in essence, lending money to God's chosen representative on earth, blurring the lines between the sacred and the secular. But this incredible concentration of wealth came at a cost. While Fugger built magnificent palaces in Augsburg, filling them with the finest art, silver, and luxuries the world had to offer, a different reality existed outside his walls. In the muddy streets of Europe's cities and villages, peasants struggled with famine and poverty. A split screen of this era would show a stark, haunting contrast. Nobles feasting under glittering chandeliers while mothers struggled to feed their starving children. The engine of Fugger's wealth was powered by a system that left millions behind. As he stood on the balcony of his palace, overlooking the city he had helped build, Jakob Fugger could reflect on a life unparalleled. He had financed emperors, funded wars, and backed the Pope himself. He was the man who lent money to kings and, through his dealings with the Vatican, to God's chosen. His story is a testament to the timeless power of wealth to shape destiny, to build empires, and to change the world forever. In the hallowed halls of Europe's great cathedrals, amidst the scent of incense and the sound of chanting monks, a new power was stirring. It was a power that intertwined religion, politics, and money, concentrating them all into the hands of one man, Jakob Fugger. The story begins with a deal that would shake the foundations of Christendom. Albrecht of Hohenzollern, an ambitious German noble, desired to become the Archbishop of Mainz, a position that would make him one of the most powerful men in the Holy Roman Empire. The only problem? He needed a massive sum of money to pay the Pope for the appointment. Enter Jakob Fugger. In secret, chests of Fugger's gold were delivered to Albrecht. Priests and officials counted the coins with nervous hands. One can almost hear a bishop whispering, "With money comes power." This single transaction set in motion a chain of events that would change history. To repay Fugger's loan, Albrecht was granted permission by the Pope to sell special indulgences, certificates that promised to reduce time in purgatory. The profits would be split between rebuilding St. Peter's in Rome and paying back the banker from Augsburg. Fugger's gold didn't just buy religious offices, it fueled wars. His loans allowed monarchs to raise and equip vast armies. Soldiers marched across Europe, their swords sharpened and cannons loaded, all financed by Fugger's banking house. He wasn't just a passive lender, he was an active investor in conflict, profiting from the outcome of battles and the shifting of borders. His financial network was a weapon as powerful as any army, capable of bringing a kingdom to its knees or propping up a tottering throne. In the process, Fugger effectively invented modern banking. He perfected a system of asset-backed lending, where loans were secured against tangible assets like mining rights or future tax revenues. This dramatically reduced risk and allowed him to lend on an unprecedented scale. Visualizing his system today, we'd see glowing contracts, interconnected data points, and vast digital vaults. He created a multinational corporation 500 years ago, complete with its own news service to keep him informed of political and economic developments across the continent. This was the birth of finance as we know it. But this revolution had a profound human cost. While Fugger's system generated immense wealth for the elite, it often squeezed the poor. The sale of indulgences to repay his loan was seen by many as a cynical exploitation of the faith of common people. Outside the very cathedrals being built with this money, peasants begged for bread. The contrast was stark and unsettling. The poor giving their last pennies in hopes of salvation, while nobles feasted, their lifestyles underwritten by the same financial machine. This blatant commercialization of faith was the final straw for a German monk named Martin Luther. When he nailed his 95 Theses to a church door in Wittenberg, he was directly protesting the sale of indulgences that Fugger's loan had initiated. In a dramatic split scene, we see the Pope in Rome, his power secured by Fugger's gold, and Martin Luther, his protest ignited by the consequences of that very same gold. Money didn't just influence religion, it fractured it, sparking the Protestant Reformation and reshaping Christianity forever. The legacy of Jakob Fugger is written across the map of Europe. His financial backing determined the outcome of imperial elections, the course of wars, and the architectural splendor of the Renaissance. A montage of the era would show maps shifting, new dynasties rising, and cathedrals reaching for the heavens, with Fugger's immense shadow cast over it all. He demonstrated that the power of capital could rival the power of the crown and the church. In the end, we are left with the image of Fugger himself, his face lit by a single candle, a man who understood the intricate dance of money, faith, and power better than anyone. He was Jakob Fugger, the banker who held the 16th century in his hands and whose innovations and ambitions changed religion, politics, and the world forever. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into the past fascinating, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of the people who shaped our world.